We've all heard it before. Just talk about it. If you've been through something painful or had a difficult and painful childhood, people say you need to talk about it to get it off your chest. But here's the problem. What if talking about it doesn't actually help? Or worse, what if talking about it over and over is actually what's keeping you stuck? Hi, I'm Madalena, and this is You Reclaimed. Here we talk about how we take our lives back from the grip of childhood trauma, anxiety, and emotional dysregulation so that we can finally live on our own terms. Here's the problem with just talking. For those of us who come out of traumatic childhoods, talking about what happened can feel like relief at first. Our first few therapy sessions can feel cathartic, like finally someone is listening to us. Someone is validating the way we feel and helping us to make sense of the difficulties that we're still living with because of our past. Because many of us who end up in therapy, we never had family or friends who could just listen without judgment, without being defensive, or without being personally affected. So many of us enter adulthood locked into our trauma with no one to listen to us. And the truth is that many times we don't even know where to start in expressing ourselves. So at first, therapy can seem like we finally found the cure. So we go into those first few sessions with an open heart, hopeful. We think, this is it. I'm finally going to change these patterns that are running or ruining my life. But then at some point, therapy starts to feel like we're just repeating the same story over and over. In each session, we unpack the complex layers of our trauma, of our anxiety, our depression. We talk about where it came from, who was responsible, or how it made us feel. And we do this for years sometimes. Many of us go through this scenario with multiple therapists, but somehow we keep ending up in the same place, nowhere. And nothing substantial is actually changing. Maybe you've experienced this for yourself. Maybe you've seen a friend go through it. And you'll know that nothing is getting better because you'll keep reliving the past. You'll keep talking about the source of your trauma or the cause of the emotional dysregulation, but you never seem to find a way to move forward. And not just that, while you're in therapy, you can get stuck in reliving the trauma in real time. You talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, and for a while, it feels good because at least you're getting it out. But the emotional loops you're stuck in, they just keep on repeating. And you'll know that that's the case because you'll see it in how you live. You keep getting into the same toxic relationships. You keep reacting emotionally in the same volatile or dysregulated ways, not because you want to, but because you don't know how else to be. Maybe this describes your experience with therapy. It definitely describes mine. When I moved out of my parents' house and tried to start my adult life, I had crippling anxiety. I was barely functioning. I couldn't hold down a job, I couldn't be left alone for long periods of time, and I lived with absolutely debilitating physical symptoms of anxiety all day, every day. I can smile a little bit about it now because I've come so far, but unfortunately, therapy did nothing to get me here. Therapy did not help me. So why do so many of us find that talk therapy just doesn't work? Well, it's because talking about trauma is not the same thing as healing trauma. The two can seem similar, especially when you first start therapy and you feel hopeful, but they are not the same thing at all. And here's the tricky part. Your brain doesn't actually know the difference between remembering trauma and experiencing trauma now in real time. So every time you retell a painful story, your body and brain can react as if it's happening again. That's why some people feel even more overwhelmed or more emotional or drained after talking about something painful because instead of releasing it, they might actually be reinforcing it without even realizing it. So if therapy alone doesn't work, what does help? And please remember, I'm not saying that you should never talk about your trauma, and I'm definitely not saying that therapy is useless. Talking does have its place. If therapy is helping you change your behavior, is helping you regulate your emotions and make real changes in your life, then by all means, keep doing it. But for a lot of us, therapy alone doesn't get us very far. And another big issue is that a lot of us who come from childhoods of trauma subconsciously expect therapists to fix us. Because when you grow up without having your needs met, you can end up looking for parental figures in anyone, in your romantic partners, in your friends, and definitely in a therapist. Someone to finally nurture you the way you needed to be nurtured when you were little. But therapists aren't meant to parent us. They're not even supposed to tell us what to do. Their job is to help us process things. But the actual work, that unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, that job is up to you. So if talking is all you're doing and you're still feeling stuck, then it's time to shift from talking to action. But what does this action look like? Well, it looks like, first of all, regulating your nervous system. Before deep healing can happen, you need tools to calm your system so that you can focus on healing. This can mean breathing techniques like box breathing or paced breathing. You can use movement-based therapies like yoga, martial arts, tai chi, dance, somatic work. You can use sensory grounding like EMDR neurofeedback, which I particularly like. Or you can use tapping, which I've used extensively in the past at the height of my anxiety, and I know many people who have used it successfully as well. You also have to change your patterns. Instead of just analyzing the past, you need to change what you do now in real time. And how do you do that? First, you have to notice how your trauma responses show up in daily life. So that means you have to get really good at recognizing what trauma responses look like for you. And I'll help you with that on this channel. We talk a lot about this because a lot of the negative and harmful ways we respond to life seem unrelated, but their origin can be traced back to traumatic experiences in early life. And then you have to shift your behavior in real time. Start responding differently, even if you have to start in very small ways in the beginning. You also have to work on reconnecting to yourself and getting to know who you are, your identity. Healing isn't just about what happened then, it's about who you are right now. Mindfulness, self-compassion, and body-based healing help you to feel safe and grounded in your own skin. So if you've been feeling stuck even though you've been doing the work by talking about your past, this might be why. Healing isn't just about talking. It's about what do we do next after the talking. What's been your experience with this? Have you felt like talking about your trauma kept you stuck? Or did you get a lot out of therapy? Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe because we have so much more to cover. You do have more power than you think, so use it. I'll see you in the next video.